So welcome to this webinar regarding the new certificate program called the Sustainable Food Practices. This is offered by the Department of Nutrition and Food Studies. And I'm happy to introduce three speakers who can provide you information about this new certificate. First, Dr. Charles Feldman is an internationally recognized food scholar. He saw the importance of including sustainability in our curriculum and spearheaded the development of this certificate program. Next, I'm going to introduce Dr. Adrian Kerryhart. He's also a noted food scholar. He is the Department of Nutrition and Food Studies Graduate Program Coordinator. He will be overseeing a smooth transition for the implementation of the certificate program. We also have Michael Oschmann. He is the founder and CEO of the Green Restaurant Association. This is a national nonprofit organization formed in 1990 with the purpose of shifting the restaurant industry toward ecological sustainability. The Green Restaurant Association pioneered the green restaurant movement and is a leading voice within the industry. So I hope you will feel free to write questions in the chat. After all of our speakers have concluded, we will go over those questions. So next on the agenda is Dr. Charles Feldman.
Hi, thank you, Kathy. I'm going to talk for about 3 minutes about the need for our graduate Sustainable Food Practice Certificate program. The recent food industry focus on sustainable food practices is profound and visionary. This interest has been expressed by companies that span the food science, agricultural, marketing, distribution, food service, and nutrition sectors. Examples include the Dole Company, Whole Foods, Coca-Cola, who prioritize sustainability in their mission statements, the Compass Group, which places environment first, and Cargill, the biggest food company in the world that promises to be a leader in a responsible and sustainable way. Today's food, agribusiness, and food technology companies are faced with increased pressure to be more sustainably integrated. Sustainability is on the agenda for almost every food business who wants to be successful in the future. The public's becoming aware, and the industry is taking notice. Young people in particular realize that food sustainability is related to their quality of life. A number of global issues are affected by the food system, which is responsible for at least 30% of the planet warming greenhouse gases. These include food waste, hunger and poverty, and the availability of food during conflicts, crises, and pandemics. So there are serious concerns, but also exciting challenges afoot. There is a need for professionals to steer the food system in a better direction. Montclair State University is offering a 4-course certificate graduate level program in sustainable food practices. The students receiving this certificate will understand the relationship of food production practices, food waste, and ethics to sustainable production. Issues concerning these relationships will be deliberated, and actions regarding how food is grown, how it's processed, marketed, sold, and consumed will be formulated. Alternative food processing models will be critically analyzed for efficiency and ethicality. Dr. Carhart will talk more about our programs in a bit. A collaboration with the Green Restaurant Association gives our graduates the opportunity to get an additional certificate in food sustainability. We value this relationship and the connectivity to the industry. This organization has been certifying the restaurant businesses in particular in sustainability for 30 years. Michael Oschmann, the founder and CEO of the company, is here with us today, and he'll be talking to you in a couple of minutes. Now to Dr. Kerryhart.
So as a food scientist, one of the food scientists in our department, what I just wanted to add to this is that sustainability is obviously a profoundly important topic, just intrinsically for ethical reasons, for global reasons. But also what's been heartening is that we've been finding out that it's also just very important in the modern food industry, both in terms of the priorities of food companies and also even in their hiring practices. That in our developing this program, we've spoken with a lot of industry members, a lot of people that hire new food scientists in the industry, and we've asked them specifically what is needed to create a future-minded, future-focused graduate in food science. And we hear over and over and over again that sustainability is the topic, that it's important to consumers, which means that it's important to industry, which means that it's important in terms of the qualifications for our students. So we're really excited about what this is going to do in terms of putting us in a pretty unique position of being really at the forefront of educating our food scientists on this obviously important topic. And now I'll pass it to Michael.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, everybody, for having me. My name is Michael Oschmann. I'm the CEO and founder of the Green Restaurant Association, which I founded when I was 19, not such a distant age for many of the students that will possibly be taking these courses. And of course, that was just 2 years ago for me. Now, I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is my passion. And, these issues have been important for a few decades. They've been important for a long time. They just have become popular lately, but not because of any new science, but just like any movement, there becomes a tipping point, the beginning of a tipping point that I think we are beginning to reach. We're not there yet. But what our organization does is we help restaurants become more sustainable. And in 7 environmental categories of energy and water and waste, disposables, chemicals, food, and building, we have a points-based system that helps restaurants become certified. This could be the restaurants that you find at Terminal 4 at JFK International Airport, or the dining halls and restaurants at Harvard or Northeastern, or many of the colleges across the country, or your local pizza shop. What our organization does is establish a standard, because when things become important, like green, everybody wants to claim to become green. 30 years ago, they didn't, because it wasn't so popular. And so the reason why sustainability is important from a scientific perspective, Charles, as you mentioned, just the environmental impact of the food service industry, both at home but at restaurants. In restaurants alone, it is the #1 consumer of electricity in the retail sector. The United States restaurant industry has an economic impact that would place it anywhere from 11 to 17 on all the countries in the UN. And with economic impact comes a corresponding environmental impact. So to deal with issues like climate change or the Pacific garbage patch, that garbage patch the size of 1 or 2 Texases between here and Hawaii doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from us. It comes from us as consumers. And so what our organization does is help consumers make the right choices, help businesses really not just talk green, but really do it in the proper way. Next week, we'll be announcing something with a partner. Right now it's private, but next week it won't be, for World Environment Day. It's a supplier to restaurants, and they've reached their goal 4 years early to go all sustainable energy, including solar and wind, which is phenomenal. And part of that, I'm sure some people care at the company, but I'm also sure they're cognizant that their consumers, both their end consumers and their restaurants, find this important. So we act as an organization that coalesces the science into standards, creates the certifications, and makes it easy for the consumer to dine at the certified green restaurant, makes it easy for the certified green restaurant to actually become a certified green restaurant, make the changes, and work with the suppliers. So we're looking forward to working with you all to create a program, because there are millions and millions of people that work in the restaurant industry. Almost every adult has worked in the restaurant industry at some point. And it's a great place to become educated, to influence industry. And there's a great need for people with more education and to demonstrate that they have a competitive advantage over another employee by having this certificate demonstrating knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Adrian is now going to, Dr. Kerryhart is now going to talk more about the certificate program.
Yeah, and I'll share my screen here. Hopefully you're all seeing that successfully. But what I would like to do is discuss the actual details of the program. And we're really pleased with this, not just in terms of the curriculum that it presents, but also the flexibility that it provides our students in terms of the multiple ways that this can work potentially for all of you students. So first of all, this is what the program looks like. It's 12 credits, which amounts to 4 courses total. There will be 2 courses that you take in what we call our core curriculum. So these are a required portion of the certificate program. And you can see that we have a brand new food ethics, sustainability, and alternatives course that we've developed specifically with this certificate in mind, an updated food systems and agribusiness issues course that we feel really complements this curriculum very nicely. And then you'll have your choice of taking any 2 of these courses on this elective sheet. And you can see we have urban agricultural and sustainable food systems. We have things that relate to food regulations. We have things that help you address some of the underlying topics in food science. So it would be your choice as a student which 2 courses you wanted to take. So a total of 12 credits, which could be a very full single semester, more typically might be spread out over 2 semesters. But then what I also wanted to mention is that like I said, that we're really proud of how this works in terms of the different students that this might accommodate and the multiple ways that it might help them. And so what I'm showing here is our Master of Science program. And these highlighted ones, these orange highlights, are the 2 required courses on this sheet. The yellow highlights are the list of electives. And what I'm trying to point out here is that if you select your courses thoughtfully and carefully, you could actually complete the Sustainable Food Practices Certificate while completing your Master of Science program without adding any additional coursework at all, right? That the Master of Science program has similar options in terms of electives. And as long as you choose those electives strategically, in the same 2 years that you would have completed your MS, you would now be leaving with an MS and the certificate program on your credentials as well. So that was a big part of our planning for this, and we're really pleased with how this can work out. So we would encourage anybody that's starting in the MS program to consider this as a really easy way that costs you no time, no money, right? To strengthen your resume and also get, of course, this valuable education. The other thing that I want to point out is that because of the way that these 2 programs intermingle, there's another set of students that we think this could really appeal to, which would be, and I'm getting to this second bullet point here, which is that for students who maybe are considering a Master of Science program or they're not sure, perhaps their qualifications actually aren't quite sufficient to earn them entry into our MS program with your current credentials, what we can offer is this possibility that you could actually enter into our Sustainable Food Practices Certificate first, because the rigor of our admission standards will be a little friendlier, which means that you can come in, begin working on the certificate, have this plan of adding this to your credentials, but at the same time, if during that time you excel and you demonstrate that you are able to succeed in our graduate level programs, at the same time that you're getting the certificate, you're also strengthening your credentials for your MS. And the really nice thing about this is that, say you complete these 12 credits, and then you say, now I'm a stronger student than I was when I began, right? Reapply for the MS. If you get accepted to the MS, all of the courses you've taken apply to your MS, right? So a student that maybe didn't have an easy entry into the MS at the beginning will now have accomplished this ideal path of getting the certificate and their MS, and it will have cost them perhaps literally 0 extra time, 0 extra coursework. We're really proud of this because it means that a lot of students we know are different students at different phases of their life. And perhaps if your undergraduate education had scores that you feel no longer represent you in terms of your quality as a student, this is something that you can do where you can come in, demonstrate that you are now a successful student in a way that costs you no time. This is still a little bit in terms of getting this systematic within our graduate program, but we will probably be able to offer even very specifically to you that if you excel at a certain level in our certificate program, perhaps a 3.6, something along those lines, it might even actually just earn you an automatic entry into our MS program that you can be assured of from your first day as a student. And with that, I think I then will pass it back to Kathy, who will bring up questions from the audience. Is that right?
Yes, yes, that's, I think you got to stop sharing your screen, right? Okay, wonderful. Okay, yeah, I have some questions that people have asked before, and I will be checking the chat to see if there are any other additional questions. And the first question I have here is, what jobs are available if I get the MSU certificate? So I think Dr. Feldman was
I will
to answer that.
I will take that charge. Thank you. Great question, and that's the bread and butter question. Although the changing food industry presents challenges, there are also great opportunities for innovation and employment. There are jobs within jobs, and there are startups. So let's talk about jobs. I did a recent search. I'm not going to mention particular names, but anyone could do this. Go on Google, look sustainability jobs. There's a sustainability marketing manager in Brooklyn in a food company. The UN is looking for a Sustainable Development Solutions Network Director. There's a science fellow for sustainable food and farming in a justice organization in New York City. There's a sustainability specialist for a food group in Newark. There's a strategy director for sustainability in PepsiCo. Vice President of Sustainability in the Agriculture Food Industry, Washington, D.C. Director of Freshwater and Food Transformation for a food fund in Washington, D.C. And U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance in D.C. is looking for a sustainability director. Now, that's just a few. There are also jobs within jobs. For example, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics wants their dietitians and nutritionists to promote conservation, natural resources, and help maintain the sustainability of the food system. So that's a job competency that they're looking for. The Institute of Food Technologists proffers sustainable ingredient sources, waste management, processing, and sustainable production methods and best practices. These are all part of the qualities that they want in the candidates who apply for jobs. So these industries are looking for professionals with these competencies. Now, there's also startups. There's hundreds of startups that are looking into the next plant-based proteins, plant-based milks, faux meat products, faux chicken products, reducing livestock emissions by changing their diets, aero farms, urban agricultural startups. The possibilities are endless. The point is that the industry is turning to solutions that will help us live sustainability for the future, and there is opportunity on the horizon.
Okay, wonderful. You gave us lots of food for thought here about the importance of sustainability in the food industry and the possibility of enhancing your resume by getting a sustainability certificate. So I have a question from in the chat, and it says here, if someone is already enrolled in a different academic program, can they also work towards this certification? And do you have to declare working towards this certification before taking any coursework? Or can coursework be applied, or can past coursework be applied?
I think maybe I'll take this one.
That sounds like, yeah, Dr.
Yeah,
Kerryhart.
program coordinator question. So I would say the short answer is they'll absolutely work with you on all of that. That none of that should really be a problem. Past coursework being incorporated should not be a problem. Being in a different program at MSU should not be a problem. That being said, the more sort of formal process of this would be that as you're in another program at MSU, you would still go through an application process where you would apply to our certificate program so that you would be formally enrolled. Ideally, that would happen earlier in your education rather than later, right? That we could work with you in terms of looking at the courses you've taken prior to your enrollment and account for those and include those. But it would be far more sort of the way the systems are intended to work if you applied for the program as soon as you decided that you were committed to completing it. I hope that answers your question. If there's any further clarification, please let me know.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're trying to figure out how to make this work for your graduate program, please see Dr. Kerryhart and he will help you work it out. So I think there's a question here for the Green Restaurant Association, and about, it says here, say I switch career paths, can sustainability practices be used in other fields? And so Michael, I don't know, do you want to talk about that, about how a certificate in sustainability would help in how many different career paths? Seems to me almost all, but maybe you have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, we work in food service, but food service exists in almost every company. So, you know, we recently were dealing with a beer company. They have restaurants. We were dealing with a plumbing company who also had restaurants. We deal with universities that have restaurants. Hotels have restaurants. Almost every corporation has a corporate headquarters. So wherever you go, it's almost guaranteed that there is going to be some sort of food service operation. And within those operations, you were talking previously, Charles, about all the different positions, sustainability directors. When I was a student at UCSD 30 years ago in San Diego, we helped to hire the first recycling coordinator. That was unheard of back then. Now, sustainability positions are everywhere. There's a multi-billion-dollar company that we recently did a partnership with that is in the midst of hiring their first sustainability director that, you know, will be public at some point soon. That's normal now. The idea of having a significant company without a sustainability director is almost untenable at this position, at this time. So it is one of the fastest growing pieces, and it's for bad reasons. The bad reasons are there's a lot of problems in terms of sustainability. It's nothing to celebrate. And we're late to the game as a civilization. The good news is it's ramping up quickly. So all the needs are not filled by any manner. And I can't tell you when that will happen. At some point, every company will have the sustainability director and the recycling director and the sustainable food person or whatever it is, depending upon the company. But I can say it's a really good expertise to have now. And a lot of the issues, depending upon what you become educated in, are quite transferable. But it is a great need, and not only from the scientific perspective, but there's a lot of legislation that's coming down. Not so much from the federal government yet, but over the years from many municipal governments, state governments. So the more knowledge one has from a scientific perspective, from a legislative perspective, from a business perspective, really makes one a lot more marketable as an employee.
Well, thank you. I don't see any more questions here right now, but if you have any more questions about this, certainly see Dr. Feldman, Dr. Kerryhart. Dr. Kerryhart can work with you as far as figuring out how to get this certificate really in whatever program that you're in, whatever graduate program you're in. This could be worked into your degree and obtaining the certificate. I think the speakers today have emphasized the importance of sustainability for quality of life And sustainability in the food industry is extremely important as we move forward as a civilization. So it really would enhance your resume as far as working, certainly in the food industry, and maybe a lot of other jobs or careers that you're pursuing. So I thank you so much for attending this webinar, and we're looking forward to the beginning of this new sustainability certificate program.
Dr. Bauer, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
So the one thing that I'd like to share is almost every human being, barring those who are born into wealth, but for the vast majority of human beings, we have to work, and we have to work for a large part of our life, and a large part of each day. It becomes a big part of who we are and our identity. And if you poll most people, a lot of people are not satisfied with their work because they're not doing work that's meaningful to them. And so the one piece that I didn't say that I want to emphasize, besides the marketability and jobs and the money and all of that, is that to get up in the morning and to do work that not only do you get a paycheck for, and not only is interesting from an intellectual perspective, it's stimulating, whether you're into chemistry or biology or marketing or whatever it is, okay, many jobs like that. But there aren't that many jobs where you can go to sleep at night and feel like, I just did something. And I could say I feel like that, and it's a privilege, and I don't take it for granted. And there are plenty of jobs like that, working for a better world. But often those are volunteer positions or short-term positions or positions that don't pay so well. And they're great when you're 20 and 21, but by the time you're a little bit older, it's not sustainable. This is one of those rare opportunities where there are legitimate jobs that do pay well, that can be intellectually stimulating for whatever you're interested in. And you can, 20 years later, look back and say to the next generation, whether it's your kids or some young people, and you could say, wow, there was a time where we weren't all solar energy. There was a time where we were still using pesticides. Remember we started using those in the 40s or 50s or whenever? Well, that was up until 2025. I was part of that shift. And we know other movements where there was a mark, where women got a right to vote. There was a time before that where they didn't. There are moments in history where there's a before and after. And this is one of those rare occasions where a large part of people can be part of the process of helping us go to the place that's after, where we're really sustainable, where the things we're doing now that aren't sustainable cease, and it's very satisfying. So I wanted to put that in there because that's really valuable. Paycheck is valuable, but feeling good about what you do during the day is also valuable, and that's definitely something to consider.
What a wonderful finale for our webinar. Thank you, Michael.
And thank everybody else. Thank you, Adrian, Jessica, Kathy, and Jeff.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.